Welcome back, everybody, to our next presentation. I'm really happy to welcome Karsten Hirsch with me from Plastic Fischer. And he will talk a little bit about efficient and low-cost plastic collection from rivers and what it is they are doing with their startup in that direction. Karsten, really nice to have you. Thank you for being here and have a lot of fun. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Nice that you are tuning in. I'm Karsten, CEO and co-founder of Plastic Fischer. And yeah, as you might know, millions of tons of plastic are entering the oceans every year, killing marine life. It is said to be between 8 and 12 million tons, which is basically one big truckload every minute that is dumped into the oceans. And a lot of this plastic is actually coming from Asian rivers. Here you can see one of the most polluted rivers in Indonesia or in the world, but this one is in Indonesia, in Bandung. It's a place where I lived for more than half a year and where our journey with Plastic Fischer more or less began. And the vision of our startup is to clean rivers and with this eventually achieve clean oceans. And our mission is to develop cost-effective and very efficient collection solutions for rivers in emerging markets. My team mostly consists of engineers. Myself, I have a background in law, but I was a bit bored and decided to change my career path here. Similar for my CTO, Aviel, who was leading engineer in the Navy and designed ships, and so really knows how to build resistant floating, how do we say, structures. And my co-founder, George, he brings the expertise in how to grow a startup and how to fund a startup, as he's running the world's first accelerator in sustainable aquaculture. And we have, of course, our project managers on the ground that ensure that our operations actually are carried out smoothly. We are following the Triple L approach, and you might not have heard of it before because we founded this phrase ourselves a couple of weeks ago. And that basically means that we are working locally. That means we are manufacturing all of our technology from locally available materials. This creates jobs. This boosts the local economy. And at the same time, we avoid imports and with this save carbon, time, and cost. And we are using low tech, which is the opposite of high tech. And that means we're minimizing all kinds of automation and rather create jobs by actively, manually collecting the plastic from our systems. That also makes our systems easy to repair and maintain. And this eventually results in low costs. And this also means that we can offer a scalable and affordable service. I quickly want to talk a bit about a competitor analysis, but I think it's very important to stress that it's super important and I'm very happy to have that many competitors. And it's just a quick list that shows in the end that we are, of course, the best ones to do it. But very important is that these corporates and organizations work all on this huge problem. And you might know the ocean cleanup and the interceptor. This is basically a high-tech solution to collect floating plastic in rivers, which also is built in the Netherlands and then shipped to the country of operation. The issue is, in my opinion, that the interceptor costs roughly $1 million, and as soon as something breaks down, they need to import and the parts to repair it and also the expertise from Europe. Everwave is also using very efficient boats. I put on the right side cost compared with efficiency. So they build boats that they buy from a third party, which is quite cost intensive. And then they have conveyor belts to clean the polluted rivers or lakes that they specifically want to clean. The issue here is that after the operation, they take the boat, put it back into the container and ship it to the next location. So it's not continuously running these operations. The bubble barrier is using a pipe, I think it's a pipe, and creating a curtain of bubbles, which lifts and stops the plastic that is floating into the rivers, in the rivers. I think the complexity is way less than having a boat or a solar-powered, collection system. But still, you need electricity continuously, and efficiency. I'm a bit reserved here if my mind is fair or not fair. But of course, there are limits when it comes to velocity of the river. But every system has a limit when it comes to velocity or powers that it's exposed to. We have collection of fishermen that go out, fish, but also have as bycatch some plastic. And that's pretty not complex what they are doing here, but an issue is that it's not really scalable. So it's a bit random how this pickup of waste, how many tons are actually collected by these fishermen. And our approach is also not complex at all. We built it locally, and compared to the cost, it's 300 times cheaper than the interceptor, and the efficiency is basically the same. But how does that look in the end, the Triple L initiative? We call it trash booms. These are swimming barriers that are made from PVC pipes, from galvanized mesh and galvanized steel. And it's a modular system, so we just align a couple of elements to each other depending on the size of the river. We put it into the river and stop the vast majority of floating plastic while fish can still swim underneath. And here you can see it working in the river that you saw before, the Citarum River in Indonesia. And it worked so well, and compared to the cost was so cheap that even the World Economic Forum visited us, and the Deutsche Welle, and made a little report about us, and that gave us the boost to really continue with the work that we are doing at Plastic Fischer. Right now we're working in 2 sites in India, in Bangalore and Varanasi, have operations there and own Indian entity. And we also work now in Bandung, where it all began, where you just saw the picture. And we are growing in all these countries. We already chose our next location in Trivandrum, India, and are also going to Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. A big problem, and as this is a recycling forum here, is a big problem is that the plastic that we find in our systems are not recyclable. So 95% of these plastics are LDPE, or multi-layer flexible plastics that are, of course, dirty, polluted with heavy metals. So it's really hard to make something out of it. But I guess you all know much better than I do that this plastic is really hard to recycle. So this is also one of the reasons why it ends up there. It has no value, so people just throw it somewhere. There is no waste management system. So to collect it, which actually costs money, we need to give this material, this resource, an artificial value. And we're doing it by the analogous of carbon credits. So when we realized we don't have enough valuable plastic in our nets, we thought, hey, why couldn't we do something similar to carbon credits and make companies compensate for the plastic footprint that they are having? So companies can now finance our operations per ton of plastic collected and processed, and get the whole end-to-end and verified process that they can then communicate with their customers, with their shareholders, with their employees. Our latest sponsor is Knipex. They committed to finance 20 tons of plastic that we collected. Knipex is building pliers and shipping it around the world, basically also exporting to Asia. And we compensate their plastic footprint they are having by selling pliers to Asia. Our second business model is the Plastic Fischer Club. That's more for the sustainable thinking companies that actually already act quite sustainably, and they can pay us a monthly fee of around 100 euros. And in return, they get a logo that they can brand on their products and say, hey, we support Plastic Fischer. We're not only a profit-driven company. Sustainability, of course, is on high demand. There are a lot of is a lot of research going on that more and more employees and customers value that companies actually act sustainability driven, and that they care, and that they not only are profit orientated, but actually invest part of their profit into sustainability. And we step in here and want to give these companies a possibility to invest in tangible and real impact by getting it out of the rivers. You know, we prove it by a third party, and want to be a bit of a difference to the to the carbon market, what happened there, you know, the mistrust and things like that. And we really want to be the no bullshit company. You give us money, we prove to you we get it out of the water. Our operational timeline looks like that. So we started working in India this year. We scaled up in India. We kicked off our project in Indonesia, where it all began. We are looking forward into kicking off our Vietnam project in the Saigon River, and also consider going into another country. We can also imagine just sticking to Indonesia, India, and maybe Vietnam and scale there, as it is quite complex enough. Deploy a couple of systems, of course, collect a lot of plastic, and hire more and more people to create more social and environmental impact. I'm really interested in getting in touch with you, as I'm really convinced that it takes a lot of players to solve this problem. So we are, of course, fighting the symptoms by collecting the plastic from the rivers. We're not doing educational aspects, even though people can access our technology or our solutions, see the problem. With this, we more or less create a passive educational or awareness raising effect, but we need NGOs or organizations to focus on the educational part. We need to have a change in legislation, of course, tackle the corporates to change something in their packaging. But of course, we also need help in getting in recycling, because our options that we have as a small startup is getting it out. But what then? Then we have to deal with the local options we have, and this is usually bringing it to a certified cement plant to incinerate this dried plastic and make at least energy out of it, because the alternative is we let it up end in the ocean, or we put it on unmanaged landfills where it usually gets burned down or ends up in the environment again. So of course, if you're interested in paying us per ton collected or joining the Plastic Fischer Club, I'm happy to get in touch with you. But of course, also if you say, hey, we're working in India, we're working in Indonesia, or maybe Vietnam, we can help Plastic Fischer getting on the ground, or improving what we're doing at the moment, I would be super happy about you getting in touch with me. That's already it. 12 minutes. I think there is some time left to answer some questions. I hope that was somehow interesting for you, even though it was not specifically about recycling. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Karsten, for this presentation and having us with you here for this insight. And yeah, we've got some time left. Please put your questions into the question box. You can find it on the one side or the other, depending on the device you're on. Just put them down, and we have the time to answer them live. Maybe first, one thing before we get in there, what I thought was, you were talking about most of the plastic can't be recycled and doesn't have an inner value by itself. And we had this problem in a presentation earlier, I think it was yesterday, because the secondary material is not yet valuable in most countries, while here in Europe we don't have enough recycled material for the demand. Did you get how do you say it? Did you have a look with Plastic Fischer at what steps could be taken to get the value of plastics even higher, so it could get to be an efficient business model by itself?
So yeah, as said, we face a couple of issues here, because usually if you are looking into an offtake agreement for several types of plastics, the offtaker wants to have a consistent stream of a certain material and a certain quality, and this is just something we cannot offer. Especially, it depends on the seasonality, it depends on the site. So there are a lot of factors that influence our operations, and that make it very hard to solve that. I myself, I don't have a solution for that. we just find, it's quite easy to reintroduce the PET bottles that we find back into the supply chain. But all the other material, I do not have a solution for that. I guess a lot of companies can work on that. I know that Unilever is setting up a first recycling plant in Indonesia for multi-layer flexible plastics. But they are the first ones to do that, and that shows, in my opinion, somehow how complex that is. At least with mechanical recycling, I guess it's quite hard to do that. So I have no clue how to do it. It would be really nice if there would be a solution for it, because it would make our job much easier.
For sure, for sure. Here, a question comes in regarding what you do with the plastic waste that cannot be recycled. Could you elaborate on that? You told us, I think, that a lot of it is getting incinerated in cement plants. Are there other things you are able to do with it or use it for anything?
So we are trying out a couple of collaborations with startups. For example, Rebricks in Indonesia, they are shredding it and putting it into bricks and paving blocks. There are things like eco bricks, so to put the dried plastic into bottles. That's all stuff we explore. The thing is, if you get tons of plastic out of the river and dry it, you have to bring it somewhere, and they cannot take these loads of plastic that we get out. Which are at least 10 tons a month. And so the only thing where we can bring it at this scale are the cement plants, where we at least supplement the fossil fuels they would otherwise use and incinerate it. Of course, it has a carbon footprint, but we think it's the least, it's the best solution out of the worst.
Totally. Thank you so much. And is how do you say it? Are there any other things? You said it. You're doing a lot around the whole thing to finance it. Are there other ways that you need help with the project, or that companies can engage with you? Especially, you said a little bit about it. You need help in the countries themselves, in India, in Indonesia, in Vietnam next. What is it you need to grow your operations even further?
So I think customers is on priority one at the moment, because we have a working model that works, that is scalable. This model can always be improved, and we work on improving that. So we really look forward to getting in touch with companies that can make a product out of the waste that we collect, but we think that it's quite hard to do that. So customers, of course, network in the countries, especially in Vietnam, it is very crucial to get the feet on the ground, to have a partner that is already established in this country. So network, sponsors or customers, that would be great. Expertise, of course.
Expertise in what field?
Yeah, if there's if they're a recycler or processor that say, hey, you could do this and that with your plastic that you get out of the water, then of course I'm super interested in elaborating that. But so far we have to do what we, what is, I'm a lawyer, so I'm not like super waste management expert at the moment, and I can learn a lot, especially when it comes to recycling, when it comes to processing of the material, of course also when it comes to collecting. But I think when it comes to collecting, we're already quite good positioned with the engineers we have on board. But the network can't be big enough.
For sure, thank you. And what do you think is gonna be the impact of projects like this, especially right now? You could say it's a nice thing, but is that something you see permanently over in the next 10, 20, 30 years, or do you think there will be an end to it? Do we get to a point where it won't be necessary, or what are your plans for the future with that?
Yeah, I hope that this is the case. I saw the situation in Indonesia. That's the and I see it every day in India from the guys that are on the ground, and I see how severe the situation is. So realistically speaking, it takes quite a while until we're at a point that, you know, Plastic Fischer is redundant. But ideally, we manage to collaborate and be so efficient that our work is not necessary in the way that we're doing it at the moment by collecting it out of rivers. So preventing it would be great, you know, not even letting it end up in the rivers. Yeah, but there is so much work to do until then. So I'm not really concerned about the amount of work that there is for the next 20, 30 years, unfortunately.
All right, thank you. And here's another question coming in. Maybe quite directly, maybe you have to drop an email to Karsten, because Paula is asking if it's possible to do an internship at your company. I think you sparked some interest. Would that be a possibility, or should she maybe just send an email? We had it in there, Karsten at plasticfischer.com, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I can type it, of course, in the chat. I'm not sure. Organizers only chat. I'm not sure if that works.
You can
First, we already have an intern right now on board. Her name is Paula. Funny. Yeah, but there is, of course, always the possibility to get in touch and reach out. I think we have enough work to do. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me directly. It's Karsten with K at plasticenglishfischergerman.com. And you can, of course, reach us on our homepage. There's a contact form. So if you don't recall the email address on our homepage, you will find ways to contact us.
Perfect, thank you. There's another question coming in about the technical aspect of your product and the barriers, and especially, do you pull those, or are they constantly installed? And how long can they stay in the river? What is their durability?
Yeah, very good question. So it's a passive collection system. It just stays in the water. So it just works with the flow speed. We don't drag it. This is also the reason why we don't kill any fish with it. It's stiff nets, and we only work, you know, with the flow of the water. We don't add additional drag to it. The durability is a good question, because we just answered it last week, basically, because we deployed a system, our very first system that you also saw in the presentation earlier, more than 2 years ago. And now we have hired our project manager for our project in Bandung in Indonesia. And he got out the trash bin that we deployed 2 years ago without any maintenance. And we were very surprised how good it was still intact. Of course, there were a couple of things that need to be repaired, but it was a roughly 2,000 euro system. And it, you know, there had to be like just small repairments to be done. And we could already redeploy it and implement it again. So it's actually very durable and very maintenance. Yeah, the opposite of intensive. I don't know what the opposite is in English, but yeah, the opposite of maintenance intensive.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Really good. And you said it, 2,000 euros was the cost of the system. For how big a river can we think about for that?
Yeah, it was like a 20-meter system.
20 meter system.
So the whole system that you saw over the Cheetah River costed us only that much, and that was also the reason why we said, and we were self-financed, you know, so we had to save costs, we had to do it very cost efficiently. It worked, and that was the kick. I mean, deployment of the technology is really the easiest thing, but ensuring daily pickup, sorting, transportation, logistics around it, that's really the complex part. And we even made our technology open source and freely available on the internet. So everyone who wants to build a trash room can go on our homepage, open source, plasticfischer.com/open source. And you will find there the cutting plans, the blueprints, and the construction manual to build a trash room yourself. We decided to do that after the World Economic Forum shared a post about us, and we got requests from all over the world. And we decided, you know, to just give everyone the opportunity to do it if they want to, or make it as easy as possible, because we thought, well, if a graphic designer and a lawyer can come up with this, it shouldn't be too hard to replicate it. So we just took it one step forward and said, you know, go ahead, take our cutting plants and do it if you want to. I always compare it with fountains. So, you know, people need water everywhere. There are construction manuals in the internet to how to build it, but it still needs companies to then do it and get the funding for it and execute it. So the construction manual is only part of the deal or of the solution.
For sure. We were talking, or you were saying that it, of course, the challenge is maintaining the whole thing and having the personnel to get out the plastic. About how many people per day or per week or per month, I don't know how you measure it, are we talking about for this 20-meter system?
So at the moment, the National Army of Indonesia is still is still serving our trash room in Bandung, but we are now employing our own people. In India, for example, we have our project manager, and he has 4 to 8 staff to collect and pick up and sort the waste. We are increasing it with the system, so I think 2 people per system is roughly the number that we should have in mind when it comes to, you know, how many staff do you need.
Thank you for that insight. All right, Karsten, sure. This have been all our questions. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the presentation. Do you have any last remarks you would like to give to the audience?
No wise words from me. I'm happy about everyone getting in touch and supporting us. We really need support. We need network, and we need, of course, funding. So if you know anyone who might be interested in funding our operations per ton, reach out to me and to Plastic Fischer, and we will make it happen.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Have a good afternoon. I'm really looking forward to see all of you again in our next webinar with Fatah Naji from the BIFA Umweltinstitut, and we will talk about phosphor recycling, but more about that in a few minutes at 4:15. See you then. Thank you for joining EREC today, and have a good afternoon. Bye bye.